Hello, and thank you for tuning into Life in the Weeds. My name is Alex Belew. Today's episode, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Chef Edgar Victoria. Edgar was my sous chef while Dallas and Jane was open, and over the last year, he has pivoted to open his own food concept called Alebrije, which is located in Nashville. Edgar is from Mexico City. He is talented, he is thoughtful, he is kind, he is incredibly creative. He makes amazing food, and I cannot wait to see the future of Alebrije. Please enjoy this episode with Chef Edgar Victoria. So it's been a weird year. Last year, around this time, we were still working together.
Yep.
And I mean, you're still in my kitchen, but we're not working together anymore. Tell everybody, what are you doing? What is Edgar Victoria killing right now?
I have a little Mexican concept going on. It's called Alebrije, spelled Alebrije. Yes, it's a hell of a name, so good luck trying to pronounce that. But I've been told by several friends, including Alex, don't change it. Leave it as is. Make people wonder what that is.
Well, for Americans, it's different. I'd never heard of it. You told me what it was a year ago, and I was like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, say it again. Write it on the board. I don't know what you're saying. But I mean, tell everybody what it is. What does Alebrije mean? What does it stand for?
Alebrije, it's pretty much creatures, mythological. Is that how you say
Mythological.
it? Mythological. Yeah, however you say that. Creatures, they do not exist. They're from the 1930s. They were created by a man in Mexico City. He had a weird dream, and he woke up and he decided to draw one out. And then since then, it's pretty much folklore art in Mexico, in the whole region, not just the city itself. So that's that. And you can, if you wonder what it looked like, they could pretty much be anything. It could be a horse with a chicken head and wings and whatever.
If your brain can imagine it, it's an Alebrije.
Yes, like you can make an Alebrije.
Go wild.
Especially
depending on what state of mind you're in.
Yeah, depending on what you took before trying to come up with an Alebrije.
Pretty sure that dream was not a sober dream.
What you're into.
Right.
I think he got sick. I think he had fever and he got sick, and that's how. That's what we know, right?
Sure.
We have no idea what was really happening with him.
That was 90 years ago. Mm-hmm. It's a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. And then, as a kid, walking around the streets of Mexico, Mexico City, that is, I remember seeing all these little art creatures hanging off tents of food stands and street vendors. And I just, last year, after the pandemic, I just felt like that was the name.
I love it.
I think I was very focused on what the food was going to look like. I knew once I decided what I wanted to do, I knew what the food was going to be like. I knew what I wanted to do exactly, food-wise, as a cook. And the name, I was just like, oh, yeah, what am I going to call this thing? That was it might be the hardest thing for people when they do try to create a concept. You walk around, you cook, you drive around, you read, and you're kind of waiting for something like that one clue that lets you know, oh, this is it. I'm going to call it this because A, B, and C. And I think I just sat at home and I just had, I knew what I wanted to do with the food. And while I was thinking about the food, I was like, it needs to be very Mexico street food, because that's what I enjoy cooking and eating. And I was like, I need to love it in order for me to share this with all these people. And as soon as I was thinking what the concept was going to be like food-wise, I had this flashback of me being a kid and my dad taking me to the market to eat all the snacks, right? Tacos and seafood. I know it sounds weird, seafood at the market, but
It's a thing.
yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing down there. And I had that flashback, and I remember seeing all these figures on tents, and I was like, oh, that's an Alebrije. That's what I'm going to call it. I'm just not going to think about it anymore. When I thought about it, I knew it. I was like, there's nothing to think about. That's what I'm going to call this concept. And
your branding
that's what we call it.
Yeah, and your branding is definitely, you know it when you see it. It's got like a death metal vibe sometimes, and sometimes it's colorful. It's like you get the Grim Reaper holding a sickle on your hoodies, and it's very you. It's very you. I mean, it is. It's fitting.
That's another thing that I really wanted to make sure we did a good job with. I think I wanted to go with the logo. I wanted to go with something very, me. Like I feel like it needed to be skateboarding theme.
Luchador masks.
Yeah, almost like Santa Cruz, which is a skateboard company, and Pablo Peralta, and those kind of things. Like just brands that I liked when I was a kid. But then we my homie, which is Chris, who's the one behind the logo and the shirt as well. We both talked about it, and we're like, well, we need to do something different. We need to do a logo that people see and they're like, I've seen that. Like I don't know what that is. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I've seen it. Like I know I've seen it somewhere. I've seen it somewhere, and it's happened. Not that often, but it's happened a few times where I'm shopping around in Nashville and people just point at my shirt and they're like, I've seen that logo, what's that mean? And then I just give them a brief explanation of what it means and what we do.
I mean, branding is so important, especially in today's world. Like you think about the Apple logo, the Nike swoosh, the Chick-fil-A chicken, you see those things and you immediately know what you're getting into. You're going to get a quality product, you're going to get an expensive shoe, you're going to get the Lord's chicken, whatever it's going to be, when you see those logos. And so when I see yours, I mean, I immediately start thinking about huaraches and sopes and the tiniest tacos, but have such incredible flavor involved. And what was it like growing up in Mexico City as a kid? I mean, and when did you move to the States?
It was different, very different. I was able to see. I was very lucky. I was always around food. Ever since I was a little kid, I was around food in the streets of Mexico. Pretty much when you grow up in Mexico, you're going to be surrounded by food 24/7. At home, outside at home, on every single corner. I mean, you try to take a little trip to school, you're going to see vendors, hundreds, before you even get to school.
So we've got Walgreens and CVS, and y'all have got food.
Oh, no, it's worse than that. Like, it's worse than that. You can't even walk 5 minutes without seeing 5 to 10 street vendors. It's thing. It's almost like
It's its own world.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch documentaries about countries in South America or Europe, the lifestyle, it's completely different. It's a little more houses so close to each other and villages with, an insane amount of population per village. It's just very different.
Takes the idea of community to a whole other level, though, from what we're used to. I mean...
Yeah, I mean, here, you got to have a car. Without a car, you can't really do anything.
Right, so spread out.
You got public transportation, but it can only do so much. Whereas down there, the economy is so bad that you got to have, that transportation. And that could be a bicycle. I mean, it's similar to New York.
just dense. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's crazy.
Heavy traffic, heavy food traffic. So I was very lucky to be around food 24/7, including school. Even in school, we had street vendors. That kind of tells you,
That's awesome.
how was it? It was.
I was eating Little Caesars breadsticks in school. You've got like homemade tortillas for school. It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing that changed with years. I'll get to that later. But I was in Mexico City, a huge city, and then on summers I would visit my family, mainly cousins and aunts, uncles, whatnot. That lived in the countryside of Mexico, in a state called Hidalgo. And it was the same food-wise. I think it was very different seeing that part of my family that doesn't belong to the city, just doing everything completely different. I mean, they're drinking water out of a river, and they're like hunting, and that seeing like all these cornfields, and they were growing like all this crazy stuff, including mushrooms, and it was just back then I took it for granted, and it was just different, and I like the city. I was like, I want to go back to the city where it's noises,
it's a little
music,
too country for me.
Yes. Yeah, that's what it was. If I'm being honest, yes, that's what it was. But it was, the first time I saw my cousins drinking water out of the river, I'm like, what are you
What's
doing?
wrong with you?
And yeah, I mean, it was just a country life.
I can't see you doing that.
No, I mean,
shoveling hay, splitting firewood.
Yes, they had me doing that too. they had me doing that.
Mom, can we go home now? This has been great.
Yeah, I think in the beginning I was like, this is good. And like, they would go to sleep so early.
Because they're just dead.
Yeah,
they're so gassed from working all day long, drinking river water.
They go to sleep at 8, and I was like, this is like when I leave home to like go play soccer with my friends in Mexico City. Like, I don't go to bed till 1 or 2 a.m.
But they're also waking up at 4:30.
Yep. So different. The food was amazing. The food, how they value, food. I think that's what I took with me. I still do. I still think about all those things every time we do a dish with Alebrije. We might not do a perfect job, as I wish we could, but we're not
you're killing
we're
it.
not a restaurant yet. But every time we do a dish, I try to take one of those memories and make a dish based on that one memory. If for instance, my memory is, when I was in Mexico City, there was a place that was fully dedicated to rotisserie chicken, and they used to save the necks, and this is what they did, and I think it was delicious. How can I do something similar? Obviously, I'm not going to serve people chicken necks, but like, how do we?
You would try. You would try.
I would put a stick on them.
I mean, you are definitely not a fan of food waste. I mean, you were back here at Dallas and Jane fermenting kale stems and like, hey, try this. I'm good, man. I don't want to try this. You would save everything. There were baggies of cryovac everything back there. I mean, we had Lexans of cryovac fermented this and kojified that. And I was like, what the holy shit are you doing? You're like, I didn't want to waste it and throw it away.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some of those things that I still use nowadays.
That's awesome, though. You make some amazing flavors out of what most people would consider trash.
And yeah, I mean, I think that was food in Mexico. My family have had living in the States since the 80s, mainly my mom's side of family. So it was almost a bit of a no-brainer for me to move to the States. Completely different. My family had been here for a few years, and then...
I'm sure there was no culture shock whatsoever.
No, I think, no.
Same food vendors running all over the place. Yeah. Food's way different here, though. We didn't really. America has started to value food, especially Nashville. We've totally changed, right? But when you first moved here, it was not a culinary destination.
No, but I think I was 10 years old, and I think just being such, at that age, that was the list of my concerns.
Right.
The food scene or street vendors. I think the main one was the language.
Learning English.
Yeah, exactly. Like moving to a completely different country, and then like, cool, you kind of left everything behind. Well, not everything, but friends and culture, whatnot. And then you hear and you're like, cool. Well, it didn't click in me until I was like, well, I'm just gonna go out and meet some people and talk to them and make friends, because that's just what I do. And the first thing is like the houses are not like so close to each other as they are down there, and then I don't speak English, so I'm like, how am I gonna make friends? And it's just like the lifestyle is completely different. You don't see people on the streets playing soccer, because that's what they do down there. They cover the street and they decide to play soccer in the middle of the street.
Do you think people are as friendly and outgoing here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was the first one. I didn't. Obviously, that was that, and then went to middle school, picked up on the language.
How long did it take you to like fully learn English?
I'm still learning.
Well, out of that,
I think it was like, I think in the beginning was a little tough, maybe. I'm saying maybe because like I've always been the kind that I don't care.
You go back and forth. You transition. I mean, when we were on the line, you and Efren would just be going back and forth in Spanish, and I'm like, I don't know what in the hell y'all are saying. English. I couldn't keep up.
But I think I was never afraid, and I think that's a big one if you're trying to learn a new skill, such as a language or cooking. If you care about what people might say, and I think that's a big one if you're trying to pick up on a language. I don't know if I want to say this because like if I'm not saying it right.
Right.
Yeah, people might make fun of me. So I never had that issue because I was always like, I always had been that way since I was a little kid. Like I just don't care. So I would try to talk to people because I really wanted to make friends because I always been like that. I like connecting with people. I like getting to know people, and I just like to have friends and hang out with a lot of people. I wanted to be in the soccer team as well, and there was so many things that I wanted to do. I wanted to adapt myself as close as possible to where my home is now, compared to reject it and be like, oh, I don't like it here. I actually ended up liking it a lot. So yeah, I would say it took me, I think once I hit freshman in high school, I felt good about it. I don't think the language was fully developed to where I could have a conversation like I'm having one with you right now. But I was able to ask basic questions in order to keep learning more and more and more. So with the good mixture of basic knowledge when it came to the language and some sign language, I was able to start picking up on it a whole lot quicker. I think after that, within a year or two, I was just hanging out with so many people and speaking it so frequently. I did join the soccer team, and most of the soccer players were Middle Eastern and Asian. So the English was the one thing in common that we all had, because like we all speak different languages.
Right.
So we all had to like, find a way to make it happen in order to coordinate and communicate and
It's a
make
massive
the team win.
sport. I mean,
And my every day in school was like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna go to soccer, so I have to communicate with all these people. And then I got PE, and then I have to communicate with all these people. So I think a year or two after that, I was able to pick up on the language a little better.
Were you a good student?
No.
If I'm being honest.
No, I was a trouble kid.
Oh.
I
would have never guessed that.
I was a very bad student. Good grades, I would say I had.
What's weird is you're incredibly smart.
Well, that's weird, and it's not. It's just like
You got a lot of common sense.
in my mind. I'm like, I'm gonna make good grades, but I'm gonna do this. And
I'm gonna do it my way.
how am I gonna get in trouble? You know. So there was a
Oh,
class.
I don't speak English. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I would do. I was doing really bad things. I was stealing exams and selling them, and I was a little aggressive in the soccer team. So I would try to kill the goalie with the soccer ball. I was always like, yeah, I was always like trying to shoot for his head, and he knew it. So every time I tried to score a goal, he would just move.
He would just move. Score, dude.
I mean, that's along like many other things, and there was classes that I just wouldn't show up, and I would be doing something completely different.
Yeah.
But I would show up just for the main exams, and I would pass. And it was some people would get mad, like especially the smart kids.
And the teachers.
Yeah, especially the kids.
Yeah.
They're like, he's not here. Like, he hasn't been here the whole week, and you're just going to give him 100. And it's like, I mean, that's what he got on the exam.
He
and
passed.
And I would look at him and be like, not my fault you're here every week. I mean, every day, and, you get a 55. That's not my fault.
Oh, man.
So that was me in high school. I passed. I was even exempt on a lot of my exams, but I was in trouble.
And so that mentality kind of went with you through. I mean, you went to culinary school for about a semester, right?
I think it was 9 months.
So a semester and a half.
Semester and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think what you told me, you felt like, that's pretty much all I need to know. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here.
I think there's always...
Well, it's so expensive.
Yeah, and there is always going to be a talk. Maybe not nowadays. I don't hear about it anymore. But there's always going to be a discussion between should I go to culinary school or not.
Yeah, that conversation happens a lot less now for some reason.
And I think back then, if we talk about 8-10 years ago, it was a big one. Like
felt like you had to go.
Yeah, like a lot of people would say go.
A lot of pressure.
Why would you not go?
I felt that as well. I mean, that's why I went. I mean, for a time when the Food Network really started to get ramped up, late 90s, early 2000s, culinary school became one of the second biggest businesses in the United States. I mean, you had them popping up all over the place. There was Le Cordon Bleu, Johnson & Wales, CIA, the Art Institute, and then, Nashville Tech Vol State started offering classes, and it became huge, but it was just so freaking expensive to go. I mean, by the time I pay off my student loans, it'll be $147,000 to learn how to cook chicken and rice, right? I mean, you don't take a deep dive into culinary. They give you this broad stroke of this is Asian cuisine, and it's not like you're studying China for 6 weeks. It's like all of the countries within Asia, which is pretty damn big. And so, you're making shrimp curry one day, you're making wontons the next, you're making pilau one day. I mean, you're all over the place. There's no chance to really get smart in one area in culinary school. It's not till you graduate and get a job and you work for great people that you really start to hone your skills and figure out what in the world you want to do. And you've got quite an impressive resume.
I feel like when it comes to that conversation, the main one, if I were to give an advice, which I'm not sure if I'm the person to give an advice, but I think the main one to me, like what people will always tell you, and it does make sense, is like what's the worst that could happen if you go to school? I mean, you're going to go
You lose a ton of money.
Hey, I know, right? It's like, oh, you're going to go learn, right? And you're like, yeah, I guess there's nothing wrong with going to school. You could learn a whole lot more by just working under really good people.
And getting paid.
So that would be the first one. And that's not actually the advice. I think the best advice to give, and I think this is the biggest one, what I've seen throughout the years in my career is some people are not meant, but like, I think you need to go get a job first. Before
100%.
you even make that big investment, because like you need to find out if this is for you or not.
And it's not for a lot of people.
So before even considering culinary school, like go work at a fast food establishment, and you will know the answer. After a few weeks, you'll be like, yeah, this is what I want to do. Because that's what I did before even going to school. I worked in a restaurant. I went to school because I wanted to get better. But I worked in a few restaurants, and the first one, right after the 5th night, I was like, I fell in love with it. I was like, I want to do this. I feel like I could be good at this.
Grease burns, cutting your finger off. You go home, you're like, man, that was awesome.
It's just, I don't know. It's
a weird thing.
There's something about it, and it's almost like love at first sight. You know it when you see it. I saw it. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how to run the dishwasher. And I got called out, and I got caught, They're like, hey, man, like, you ever washed dishes before? And I just stood there, and I was like, it's too late to lie. I know when it's too late.
I think you know the answer to that.
And I was like, no. And they just gave me this look like, man, poor kid, do we let him stay? Do we fire him? But I was working my ass off every single day that I was in that building. So yeah, I mean that's what I would highly recommend before spending all that money. You can go work at a place and see if if that's what you want to do, and if it's what you want to do. Obviously, in this career, there's so many paths that you can follow. You could be a pastry chef, or you can be a line cook. A good line cook, and go home and
clock out.
Yeah, clock out, go home, and do your thing at home, and have like all the time in the world for yourself.
Neither you nor I have that blessing anymore.
No, I don't even sleep.
Yep. I mean, that's what it is, and that's kind of the point of this whole thing is to talk to bring light to the fact that as business owners and small business owners, it's such a sacrifice. And then you've got 2 little girls, mm-hmm. and you're married, mm-hmm. and you've got a house, and you've got responsibilities. And so, is there, as you're growing this baby business that you've brought into the world, I mean, it didn't exist a year ago, right? It does now. It exists in so many places and so well that you're all over the city, right? You're at 2 farmers markets. You're at Bloomsbury Farm on Fridays. You're at Bastion on Sundays and Mondays. I mean, you're getting recognition. Your brand is growing. People love it. But how much is your family life suffering?
A
lot, right? But it's like, that's the dream. That's not for the family to suffer, obviously, but the dream is that you can build this thing that you're proud of, that you love. And people say all the time they want a work-life balance. Well, the people that say that don't own a business. They get paychecks because there's no balance when you start this thing.
No, I mean, I'm not really. I feel like I saw this picture on internet 2 days ago, and it was a business owner sitting in the middle of the hallway eating a cup of rice and like some leftover fish. And I think he made that comment on the picture like, hey, this is the reality, right? You might think, oh, he's a well-known chef and he's eating all this fancy food, and the reality is that no, there's no time. So right. I'm eating the leftovers tonight. And then you see all these comments being aggressive, like, yeah, that's like, people shouldn't be doing that to other people and whatnot. So I don't know. There's going to be always a battle out there. Like, you shouldn't be working people that hard. and whatnot, and you should pay him more, and etc. I'm choosing to do this. That's the difference,
right?
You know, and that's what I saw on that picture. Like, he's not making anyone work.
No, it's him.
It's him. That's him.
Right.
You know, like, he's probably have all this staff that works in the mornings, at nights, and they're working 8 hours.
Yeah, pays them fairly. They don't work overtime.
He's not working 8 hours.
Right.
He's probably pulling 15.
16, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what that picture reflects. You know, that's what I do. There's been, a couple weeks that I just forget to eat, and because I'm just working, and I'm thinking about food, and I'm thinking about
just not the food that you're gonna eat.
No, the food that other people are gonna eat. And then I just, I think about emails that I haven't responded yet.
Yelp
text
reviews
messages
from 2017.
I'm like, I have to do all these things. But I want to make it work. You know, I think, and again, like me saying that I don't sleep or I forget to eat, I'm not making those comments to make people feel like, oh, poor little
Edgar.
thing. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't want that. I don't want you to feel like that about me. I'm fine. You know, I'm here talking to you. You know, I got the energy.
Yeah.
You know, if I need to go sleep 2 hours to like gain a little more energy and then get back up, that's fine. I'm gonna do that. There's no complaints on my end.
Right.
You know, I don't need pittiness out of anyone.
This is what it takes. Like, this is the grind.
Exactly.
And to start any business, especially a restaurant, which is really all I can speak to, without having massive investors and huge loans and massive amounts of debt or partners that really help fund it and get it going, to do it really as organically as you and I did, to try to fund it yourself and build it yourself and do these things and like go in and out of people's kitchens, and it's the hard way, right? Because you're trying to grow this thing from scratch. You're trying to do it as naturally as possible. That's just not easy.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think the main message that after saying like how much sleep people get or I get, at least in my case, or how I forget to eat, like I haven't seen my kids in a couple days and whatnot. Again, I choose to do this. Like, no one is asking me to do it. I'm choosing to do it, and I'm 100% okay with doing it. And I think the biggest and most important part, at least on my end, I'm happy. Like, I really am happy with what I do.
That's worth a lot.
That's the main one and the biggest one. Like, every time we're serving food to people, and hearing comments about how they like the whole menu or they have a few favorite ones, and you see the same faces every week and whatnot, like that makes me happy.
Yep.
And the food that we put out makes me happy. The prep that I do makes me happy. Everything about my day makes me happy. So I'm not missing anything.
It's hard to want to quit that.
I'm not, sometimes I'm working, but most of the time feels like I'm not. So yeah, I think that would be the biggest message here. There was a lot of times that I was making dishes and I was making food for other people, and I wasn't happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's working for other people's stuff. I haven't done that in 7 years, and it's I've been offered to do it. And it's hard to want to say yes to that. But there's I remember I had a job in 2009 after I graduated culinary school. I was selling frozen food to other restaurants. I got paid $60,000 a year. I got a car allowance. I got a cell phone allowance. It was a great job, like as far as the numbers go. But I hated every minute of it. I mean, I hated it. I was like, man, I just graduated culinary school and I'm selling frozen mashed potatoes to these mom and pop restaurants. What am I doing with my life? And I literally quit it to take an internship making $0 an hour because the quality of life, it mattered more. I can't sit there and be miserable. It doesn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. So what's been the hardest obstacle for you in the last year? Other than navigating a major pandemic, obviously, what do you think's been the hardest thing for you to learn, to implement?
I I mean, there's obviously a lot of things, right, and a lot of self-teaching that comes along with that. Myself, I'm not the kind of guy that wants to sit behind a computer and do things on the computer.
No?
Whatever that is, it doesn't have to be Excel or anything specific. Just the thought of sitting behind a computer,
it makes me sick.
Annoying and it's boring, and I can't do it longer than 5 or 10 minutes, but I have to do it. I just want to cook. Honestly, I just want to cook, just want to make good food, and then give it to people. Honestly, that's all I really want to do. But yeah, I mean, that would be the way to say it. There's a lot, but they all merge into one. I think being the guy that does everything, that's the biggest,
It's hard.
Yeah, because that's one. Another one would be social media. I do my own social media.
Super important, but takes a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time, and it was taking me a little longer in the beginning, just because I social media, it's one of the things that I did not care for much before Alebrije.
It's an evil necessity.
I would just post a picture of me riding my motorcycle, and that's it. I just want to post it because, if I lose this picture, I know I would have it somewhere, and I can find it.
It's in the cloud.
Yeah, it's somewhere where I can find it. But I would not do hashtags or tag people. I just didn't know any of those things.
Right.
But then once I opened Alebrije, I was like, oh yeah, I mean, how is people gonna know what I'm doing? So
it's free.
We gotta have an account, and I did open an account. And I think in the beginning, or maybe somewhere, not midway, but a few months in, I was thinking to myself, how do I engage with people? How do I get people to look at this page and give me a try? At least try it once or whatnot. And yeah, that didn't go well. I realized that one, I didn't want to think about it so much. I hate being fake. I don't like being fake. That would be the biggest one.
Which most people are on social media.
I couldn't do it. If I say this,
how do I say it properly without making somebody feel bad?
And it was just I was overthinking it so much, and I hated it. I can't do this. So now I just say whatever I'm feeling, and it just works. It's magic, and I'm not saying that it's magic in a way that our social media is better than before. It is.
It is. But it takes less effort because you're not trying to figure out a way to not be you.
Mm-hmm. And it's just whatever I'm feeling that day, and most days I'm feeling like saying something stupid, so I'm just going to say it, and I think, it just, now I'm actually having fun when I'm posting anything, because I'm laughing. I'm laughing inside when I'm posting it. There's a post from a couple days ago, and I was like, we're going to serve pollo asado, and then there's a little hand, and it says pollo means chicken. And then I just continue with everything, and salsa means salsa, and that's that. And the whole time I'm laughing inside, thinking, I wonder who's going to read this and be like, I know what salsa is.
We know what it is,
We
man.
know what that is.
Easy way. You posted one the other day that was the Mexican apple pies, and then the next post you were like, nah, I'm just kidding. There's nothing Mexican about these things. Just come eat them.
Well, when I was posting that one, I was laughing because a lot of people make dishes and they put one Mexican thing. So the apple pies, it could be
Mexican chocolate, Mexican cinnamon.
Mexican cinnamon. Most of the time they go with that. Mexican cinnamon, and what they call it, the Spanish word, canela. Apple pies made with canela and something else, right? Abuelita chocolate. Oh, it's Mexican.
Oh man, I gotta get that.
No, it's not. So I was actually being sarcastic about people that do that, but obviously I'm not.
It's still funny.
I'm not gonna pick on that.
I was dying. I thought it was funny.
It is funny because the Mexican cinnamon was in it. Well, what's that gonna do?
It's not gonna make it Mexican though.
Mexican.
Still an apple pie. So you you've got your own tortilla thing going on here, which is a lot of work to make a tortilla. When most people go to Costco or Sam's and pick up bulk tortillas, you are bringing in heirloom corn from Oaxaca.
Yeah, Oaxaca. Now we're getting some corn from Mexico City as well.
And you are nixtamalizing it, which I'm going to let you explain that process. And then you are grinding, and you are making fresh tortillas for every single taco and every single sope and every single huarache, all of it. It's a lot of work.
Every single little thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What made you want to do that? Why? Why all the effort for a $3, $4 thing?
I think that's. I think I mentioned something about this in the beginning of this podcast when I was talking about Mexico City and the street food vendors and whatnot. What's been happening in Mexico recently? People are not making fresh masa anymore, and they're doing what's been happening here for years, right? Like they just go to the store and get store-bought tortillas from Walmart. So one was having the flashbacks about food being done the right way. The main component on what we do on Alebrije, it's the masa or the corn and how we make corn. That would be the main thing. Obviously, we use it in different ways. We make misos out of it. We make koji. We make tempura crunchies with masa too. I mean, at that point, they wouldn't be called tempura. But I mean, that's just like techniques that I use nowadays. And I think the main one was when you try food the right way, and for you to try it the right way, then it needs to be real corn. It needs to be real tortillas. I think it's just completely different. There is no way that we could set ourselves apart if we're not doing it that way.
Oh, I agree.
And it's not, the reason is not to set us apart. The reason is to do it the right way.
It's the right way.
It's the right way. It's a tradition.
Which is more than likely the hard way.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tradition that's been getting lost even in the country that I was born in, Mexico,
That's a shame.
And it was a necessity of bringing it back. That's one. And two, share with the world what I have eaten in the past. Share with the world what a real taco tastes like. And change that mentality. Change the mentality of, well, I'm going to pay $1 for a taco. And it's like, I mean, yeah, there are places you can go and pay $1 for a taco. But we want to change the mentality of, and the dollar taco is just an example.
But I think we've cheapened a lot of Americans, especially, I can't speak for the rest of the country, but especially in the South. Like, we're so used to Mexican food being cheap, and the idea that it's not throws people for a loop. And you don't have to have a taco that costs $2 or $3 if you're going to spend that much time. And the flavor and the texture difference between a tortilla that you make versus one that's bought at a grocery store, you can't even compare the two. Yours is deep in flavor. It doesn't tear and rip. You don't have to have two tortillas to hold your taco together. It's got structure, it's got integrity, it's got flavor, it's got nuance, it's got life.
And the taco is a good example of a bigger maybe issue. I don't know if that would be the proper word, but in my mind it was like I want to change everyone's mentality of Mexican food is cheap. You just mentioned that, or eat Mexican food when I'm drunk, right? So it's drunk people food, or all this mentality that happens, or maybe globally. Looking at the bigger picture, I wanted to change that whole mentality. I wanted to show people a different side of Mexican food. And there's dishes that we make, you've seen the menu at Bastion. We got tacos. So I enjoy tacos, and we serve the tacos like I would eat them. So you're not gonna see a taco with a bunch of microgreens and shave this and shave that, making it look something that is not. It's gonna have the components that we feel like it needs to be a really good taco.
Raw white onion, and it's salsa,
some shaved radishes and whatnot.
It's delicious.
But there's not a component on there that we're gonna use for the sake of we're gonna change everyone's mentality by adding macros to it, and it's gonna look cool. We don't cook like that, We got tacos on the menu because I really love tacos, and we serve the tacos the way I would eat them, and I think they're really good tacos. And then we have dishes like the sope and the huarache that I feel like we can go a little more crazy or different or experiment. So then we do, the first pop-up that we did here at Dallas and Jane, we did, I think it was Serrano kosho, and then we did ramps on our huarache. And I think that was the very first dish that I was like, oh, this is a perfect platform to play around with.
Right.
And it's not, but like everything else on there, like the beans and the red chorizo and the potatoes, they're traditional. And those things, ramps are ramps. They were on season back then. Even now. Yeah. It's been close to a year.
I'm not buying $140 worth of ramps, though.
No. And I think that was the side of. I think that's what I wanted to showcase with Alebrije. I think Alebrije it's always going to be 100% authentic because it's my food. It's what I grew up eating. It's and not just my food. It's like all these people, food and experiences that they have had in the past. They use there's just no one cooking it. So when you cook it and they have it, they're like, you take them back, and that's the best feeling. And there's also this part of Alebrije that's gonna be a little experimental and say, well, what if I do this and take that and then do something else, and how's it gonna taste? And if it doesn't work out, and if it's not a good technique that fits with traditional Mexican food, then you just go back to the same dish and it's fine. But I think with the way I cook, I just can't help myself from not doing those things and just thinking, well, I'm just gonna cook meat and put it on tortillas and add a little salsa to it and leave it at that.
You'd be in a creative coma if you couldn't play around and experiment and make weird stuff. That's just part of who you are. You want to be creative. That's why you're good at what you do.
It's got to be fun. You got to have fun.
It does. I miss putting food on plates. It's weird. It's been a weird year.
That was I'm trying to remember the first time that we were able to put food on plates. We're still not doing food on actual plates.
Yeah, it's still to-go boxes.
Little takeout boats.
And it's really hard to get the the aesthetic that you want. The first thing that you eat with is obviously your eyes, and so there's it takes it away that you have to like open a clamshell, a styrofoam clamshell to reveal the food, and then if you don't open it up and you get it home, all the elements have like slid all over the box, and so you're looking at this. Well, this is a deconstructed huarache. It's
a nacho.
Yeah, but your food is beautiful, and it is Mexican food. It is Mexican street food, but you still do it with class. You don't just slop it. It's not slop and go with you. It's detailed. And one thing I could say about your food is that, which I really tried to do the same thing. I want the food to look like it did in the picture that I posted to show you what this is. Because a lot of times people, we post pictures of our new items, new elements. This is going to be the scallop dish. This is going to be the new sope or whatever. I want it to look, when I get it, the way it looked when I saw it on Instagram. And most people don't look like they do when you see them in real life versus Instagram. And so you're like, who are you? Dude, we're friends on Facebook. Dude, you don't look anything like your profile picture. But I don't, you're getting catfished. I don't want to be catfished with my food. I want to see if that's what I bought because I saw it. That's what I want to see when I see my plate. You do a great job at that. Like the asparagus placement with the radish placement, it's almost identical to the picture. It's like you're looking at the photo and going, that goes there. All right, now put that one there. And your food just tastes, I mean, your food is amazing. It's clean. It tastes great. And you don't feel bad after you eat it, which a lot of Mexican, you feel really bad after you eat it.
Yeah, you're like, ugh.
I need to take a nap.
I'm full.
Yeah, yours is not like that. It's, clean, fresh, quality ingredients coming straight out of a farm 20 minutes away. That's hard work.
Thank you.
It's hard work. All right, I got 3 questions for you, and we're going to wrap this bad boy up.
Oh, man, don't make them weird.
Oh, they're super not weird. Okay, I'll give you a rundown, and then I'll go one by one. 3 things you can't live without, 2 things you use every day, and the single best piece of advice you've ever been given. So first things first, 3 things that you cannot live without.
Family. I don't know about the other 2.
These can be stupid. Like,
I mean,
your
I don't want to say
motorcycle.
things like phone.
We know. I mean, it's, hey, look, if you need that to connect, if that's your thing to survive and to grow your business, that's something that you legitimately can't live without.
There's more to life than than that. So
There is.
I would say family, friends, and being healthy. So
I think we all take that for granted.
Yeah.
Until we're at a place where we're scrambling for doctor's help,
Yep.
You're either going to pay for your wellness now or you're going to pay for your illness later. You get to pick.
No.
Exactly. All right, 2 things that you use every single day.
That I use.
Every single day.
Let's see. Now I can be
Phone.
like phone. That's a good place. That's a good placement for phone. Phone and car.
Definitely transportation. It's good to have that. All right, the single best piece of advice you've ever been given.
That I ever been given.
If you can nail one down, you can give me a few if you remember any advice that's ever been given to you that's really challenged you or pushed you or made you change the way you view life, your work ethic, anything like that.
There's a few. I'm trying to think of maybe the main one or main 2. I think there was I mean, I feel like we all been through all these places or kitchens where you mentioned an order, you make good money, but you just fucking hate it, right? I think whenever you run into that issue, the best advice, which it was given to me one day, being happy is more important than money. I still believe that. If I was to work for someone else nowadays, it doesn't matter what the money looks like. Especially nowadays, there's plenty of people out there paying money.
Oh, yeah.
And they feel like the answer is the money. They're dicks at the restaurants, and now they want to fix things by paying up money, and that's not what you do.
Right.
But anyways, you know who you are. kidding. But
Not really.
I wouldn't. Yeah, not really. I'll tell you after the interview. Just kidding. But I mean, I feel that applies to your life in general.
Well, I mean, what's the point in having a bunch of money if you're not happy?
If you're surrounded by friends that you do not like, you can dump them out.
Bye.
Same goes to a relationship. Same goes to a work or a job. It's a relationship at the end of the day. It's a place where you're going to be every single day. And, I think that was the best advice given to me. And I would live my life based on that advice every day. Life is too short to be miserable. And, if I'm going to be in someone's building or business every single day, I got to make sure that I'm happy. It's okay if you can only pay me so much. I'm totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with making less money and being at a place where I feel happy.
Right.
And yep, that's the advice. Be happy.
The thing that I used to tell everybody when I was interviewing them was the day that you wake up and you say, I have to go to work versus I get to go to work, then you should start thinking about a new place to work. Because that feeling of dread, putting on your shoes. Ugh, gotta go to work. That's the worst. It's the worst. The whole day is ruined when you think about, I'm about to go somewhere that I hate for the entire day with no end in sight and hate it the whole time.
And you're like, I'm going to see this guy and that one guy and that other girl.
I don't want to do it at all.
I don't want to go.
Yeah, I mean, it just throws your whole day off.
Now, imagine if it's a completely opposite, and if it's like school. It's like that was the feeling. Like every time we had long vacations, and I was back in school, I was like, I'm gonna see all my friends, and we're gonna play soccer.
Yep,
it's gonna be fun. I haven't been back to school in 2 months. I'm so excited.
Yeah, that was my 4-year-old yesterday. He's like, "Ooh, Daddy, we got a bouncy house, and Jack's gonna be there, and Riley's gonna be there, and ooh." And he's like, I got a snow cone. Oh my God, I got tiger's blood snow cone. Oh my God, Daddy. Oh my God, Daddy. And I'm just like, dude, I'm so glad you had such a good day. I'm like, I washed a bunch of dishes. I cut up some chicken, and I made some rice, and I mean, I worked all day long. But I love, like, I don't know that I could do, I mean, I could do this for a living, but I'm not really good at anything else anymore because I've spent so much time and energy focusing on one thing. But, all I know is how to cook at this point. That's it. I can cook, and that's about it.
As long as you're happy,
That's all you can be.
I mean, every now and then you're going to have a bad
There
day.
are bad days.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I've often told people as well is like you can't equate one bad day, one bad shift, one bad week doesn't mean you have a bad job. It just means you had a bad day. There's always going to be those moments of, oh man, I messed that up, or my boss got mad at me, or this sucks or that sucks, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have a bad job. It just means things aren't running on all 8 cylinders right now.
It's just life. I mean,
it is.
You have bad days without having a job,
yeah,
right?
Friends fight, marriages fight, people fight. You got to push through those things. And a lot of times I've found out that when you have those hard conversations, those awkward conversations with your friends, your coworkers, your whatever, generally, if you can both push through those things, you come out on the other side a little bit better. Mm-hmm. A lot of people aren't willing to fight for things anymore. It's just easier to cut and run. But if you don't, most times you'll wind up with a better relationship.
I agree with that. So,
Alebrije, delicious, high class, highfalutin Mexican food in tiny, tiny bites. That is delicious. Check him out. He's on Instagram, Facebook. He's at Bastion on Sundays and Mondays. The Richland Farmers Market
on Saturdays,
which they have a wonderful spread of farmers and producers. Levon Wallace, Fat Belly Pretzels there. You're there grilling chicken and making beans and cabbage and all kinds of goodies. And I had no idea Tyler Lee was helping you. I didn't know that until
he was there.
Yeah, I didn't realize that's who that was until I got home and then clicked it all together. Because I don't think I've ever met him, but we follow each other on Instagram. And then he posted that he was helping you on Instagram. I was like, oh, that's who that was. Damn, I should have said hi. Anyway, it's great stuff. I'm very proud of you.
Thank you.
It's not been easy, and you're killing it. So I can't wait to see what the future is.
Hell yeah.